Brandon Scott, Sports Radio 610. Always nice to talk to you. Let's dive into this Texans team, shall we? They beat the spread against the Eagles, so all right.
There's
Big victories
something.
when you
There's
can.
something.
Yeah, that's something. What was your biggest takeaway from that Eagles game?
Well, you know what, Daniel? I actually suspected that there was a chance that they could bounce back given how poorly things went the Sunday before. They'd done this a couple of years ago in a short week when they had a Thursday night game. I believe it was week 8 of maybe it was 2019. But it was one of those where they lost a game and looked completely down and out and then came back on a short week and actually performed and responded. Now, obviously, those are different players, different coaching staff, but I didn't think it was out of the realm of possibility. Now, given the opponent that they were facing, I thought that was what was going to be the most challenging part of it all. And you got to give them credit for competing for as long as they did. I mean, for 3 quarters, this was a competitive game, Daniel. I mean, I thought that, and some of us at the station were talking about this, like this thing's going to be over by halftime, and it wasn't. So, credit to them for being competitive in this game, and maybe that there's some things that they can take away from that and build on.
So before we dive into the game a little bit more and kind of the state of the team, I guess we'll start there with that second part, and more specifically, the big storyline coming into the game after the trade deadline was Brandin Cooks. Now, Brandin Cooks back with the team. Lovie Smith saying after the game that he was going to be back with the team, and now that he is back with the team, this whole saga, him tweeting out that he was tired of covering up for lies and the whole thing back and forth, I didn't expect it from a guy like Brandin Cooks, to be honest with you, especially since he had seemed like he bought into what they were doing, signed the contract extension and all that. What's your take on this whole Brandin Cooks situation? Because this whole thing kind of rubs me the wrong way.
Yeah, it's just surprising, Daniel. It's out of nowhere. If you were to go to the beginning of the season or at any point since Brandin Cooks has been on this team and were to ask the question like who is most likely to be a disgruntled player on the team, or somebody that would be in the proverbial doghouse, or someone who would be at odds with the team and publicly, not just privately, but publicly in the way that he has been, I would say that Brandin Cooks would be at the bottom of the list. So this is something that's surprising. It's someone I was going back through some of our transcripts, Daniel, some of these media availabilities when this guy's talking about wanting to lead the team on and off the field. Quotes like a good offense is one about unselfishness, where you got a bunch of unselfish players on the offense. That's what makes a good offense. And talking about his belief in Nick Caserio and Lovie Smith and what the organization was doing. And so this right now just seems so inconsistent with all of that. Now, someone has reserves the right to change their mind. Maybe he thought Pep Hamilton's offense would make more progress than it had at that point to the trade deadline. Maybe he thought Davis Mills would have shown the progress that a lot of fans, I think, and a lot of even the Texans internally were hoping that he would make, the steps that they were hoping that he would take, and he didn't do that necessarily and hasn't done that yet. So maybe there are some things that he was expecting to happen that didn't happen, but I'm with you, Daniel. It rubs me the wrong way just because it's not consistent with what my understanding of him has been since he's been here.
Well, I think your colleague Clint Sterner said it best in the postgame show. I was listening to it on the way home. He said that Brandin Cooks is not that type of player to be making these type of demands. Like he doesn't have the he's a good player. I mean, he's a good player. Obviously, he's valuable to his team. Probably could have really helped Davis Mills on Thursday night. Let's be frank. I think they did what they did in spite of not having Nico Collins and Brandin Cooks. It really could have helped, but he's not the type of player to do this. And I felt bad for Lovie Smith to be answering a bunch of questions because this stuff that seems above his pay grade, if you want to say that. I mean, because this seems like a dispute between Brandin Cooks and Nick Caserio.
Yeah, no, it's clearly above his pay grade. Lovie Smith's not trading players. Lovie Smith's not fielding trade demands and, deciding who gets released and all that. Like Nick Caserio, that's Nick Caserio's job. Like Lovie Smith is just here to deal with the players that he has on a particular Sunday, but it is also his job to be the face and the voice of the team on a not just week to week, but even day-to-day basis. He speaks to us 3 or 4 times a week. So that's also it is part of his job, somewhat unfairly, to speak for things and to things that don't necessarily apply to him and his job description or what he actually does as a coach. So that part of it is interesting. But yeah, also the point about Brandin Cooks not being that type of player, I think it's the fact that they weren't able to trade him, I think is also indicative, right? That I think that tells you something about how the league views Brandin Cooks. It essentially tells me, like, where else could Brandin Cooks go and make $18 million in a year, which is what he's set to do next year. Only the Texans, it seems like, were the ones that were willing to do that at this stage of his career. So, yeah, I mean, if anything, far be it for me to say when a guy should be happy or not, but if anything, the Texans did him a lot of favors, gave him an opportunity to be the featured guy, the best wide. Where else could he go and be the best wide receiver on a team? Where else could he go and make $18 million and get $36 million guaranteed at this point? This is his second big contract. Remember that too, Daniel. He's a first-round pick, got an $80-something million contract, either with the Rams or the Patriots. But since his rookie contract, right? So he's got a rookie contract as a first-rounder, $80 million something contract, and now this one where he's got $36 million guaranteed and the $18 million next year. So Brandin Cooks is living a good life, it seems.
I just hate it because, I mean, this is a team obviously that is not, I mean, look, they are what they are, right? At this point. I mean, they're not ready for competing for a division championship, and they're playing a lot of rookies. A team like that needs like veteran leadership. I look at the other side of the ball. Jerry Hughes shows up every day to play. I mean, the guy is a leader. He wants to be here. Obviously, this is his home, so he got a different perspective, but he wants to be here. And you have a team like this that's young, that's looking for some kind of traction, and then a veteran goes off and does something like this. I just hate to see it. But jumping off of this point, let's go talk about some of these positives, because Damien Pierce continues to be just awesome. 139 yards again, 27 carries. Lovie Smith saying on Friday that they need to give him the ball more. And I agree.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best player, Daniel. He's their best player. Now, should they give him the ball more? That to me is relative. I think that's a kind of a nuanced question, because I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong here, but Damien Pierce should be a part of this team's future. Like, Damien Pierce needs to be a prominent feature of when the Texans get, if and when the Texans get good again. He's that young, obviously, as a rookie, and he's that good, that dynamic. And so, I don't know. This is the reason why, honestly, Daniel, this is the reason why the conversation earlier in the season was relevant about them having a viable second running back. Like, if you felt more comfortable about handing the ball off to Dare Ogunbowale, or even if Rex Burkhead made you feel a little bit better about that, or if it was Royce Freeman or whoever it was, if you felt better about that second guy, you wouldn't feel like you need to give the ball to Damien Pierce 25, 30 times a game. And honestly, people were complaining about him not getting the ball enough early on. But to me, I worry about the opposite, kind of this overcorrection, so to speak, of giving him the ball too much because he's so clearly far and away your best player. But also, you need to kind of spread that around, not just because it's, good practice, but also, to kind of preserve this guy a little bit. He's a part of your future. And so I'd hate for him to have like a Steve Slayton type of career where there's just like this 1 year where he's dynamic and incredible and he never is able to tap into that again.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. And that's a tough balancing act that Lovie Smith has to walk, the organization has to walk, because, you don't want to, discourage him going out there and making plays. And, there are other guys on the team, they want to compete, they want to win. But at the same time, you have to preserve some of these guys. I think there is an understanding probably both ways between the players on the team and maybe what the front office is trying to do, especially in this situation. What other things stand out to you? Because there was a stat yesterday. They showed that the Texans are second ranked in the league when it comes to rookies playing time. That's not surprising, but this rookie class is showing that, yeah, this is pretty good. This is kind of what we thought we would be getting with this rookie class.
It's all about the youth movement. That's what this season is all about. I feel like it started with Davis Mills as a second-year player, but as a quarterback that you were trying to figure out, what do you have there? I feel like the story is being sort of written about that in terms of like what people feel like the ceiling is with that. Like, yeah, he can be a viable player, but if you want to take that next step, and if that guy is there, that guy that you believe in is there, then maybe you want to go in that direction. But beyond that, the rookies, it's funny, Daniel, after the Titans game, it was so frustrating to watch that performance that I said, you know what? Anybody on this team that's not a rookie or named Nico Collins, I don't have to see him play anymore. And that's with respect to the Desmond Kings of the world and the Steven Nelsons of the world, veterans who've been good on this team. I don't want to like discount that, but let's just acknowledge what they are. They're rentals. They're not going to be here for a very long time. So, after a game like that, I'm like, look, if you're not a rookie or Nico Collins, I'd never have to see you get out here. It
would be tough to win. It would be tough to win games with 8 guys on the field. But
Oh no, I was willing to start over. I was going to come back in 2023, refield the team. Like we're just gonna punt and go Astros or something. I don't know, but yeah, man, like that's the story of the game to me, or the story even of the season. And hey, how about Tegan Quatoriano? You know, the tight end position is one that I feel like the Texans have been trying to figure out for a while now. It's been kind of a revolving door, and they just haven't been able to figure it out. They have had some revelations, and Jordan Akins coming back and picking up O.J. Howard basically for nothing. I think those are some cool stories. But when we talk about youth movement, Tegan Quatoriano going out there, getting the first touchdown of the game against the Eagles. He had a touchdown, I believe, against the Rams in the preseason. So there's something there to be excited about beyond the guys that you have that expectation of. Think about it like that. You know, Tegan Quatoriano, for when he was picked, is not someone that you got this high expectation of. And he's not healthy and early on in camp and early on in the season. So you're like, oh, who's this guy? So maybe that could be something like, hey, there's a tight end who's a rookie who might be a part of your future in some form or fashion. So, and then of course, Christian Harris gets his third game, and I think looked a lot better than he had in his first 2. So still a whole lot of work to be done there. But the youth movement, Daniel, Damien Pierce, you know, I think Derek Stingley had a welcome to the NFL moment against Miles Sanders on a run play where he was stiff-armed all the way down the fan, and it looked like, you know. But hey, it's like that sometimes. You know, it's like that in the NFL sometimes. But I enjoy watching these young players play, especially knowing that the team is more than likely not going to win the game. You at least want to see the development of these young players.
And finally, I got to ask you, we talked about the positives of the young players, but what, if anything, is your disappointment so far with this team?
It's easily the Mills-Hamilton pairing, you know, and I thought it looked a lot better on Thursday night against the Eagles. But, I mean, so far, you know, this 8 games into the season, Daniel, was a failure to me. And I was at least optimistic about it. I wasn't completely sold on necessarily either of them, but I thought as a pairing that the two of them could help put each other in position to succeed, given their familiarity with each other, their familiarity with speaking the same sort of football language, going back to their days at Stanford. I know they weren't at Stanford together, but they both come from there, you know. So I thought that was going to be a lot better. I thought the offense was going to look better. I never thought that I'd get to a point in the season where I was legitimately thinking and wondering if this offense is as bad as the one that preceded it, if this offensive coordinator, if this offensive scheme is as bad as the one that preceded it. That was one of the things I was most excited about going into the year, was that I wasn't going to have to watch another Bill O'Brien Patriot-style offense. I was going to see something new, something different. Now, has it been better? I wouldn't say so. You know, they are dead last, or no, they're next to last in DVOA in offense, right in front of the Indianapolis Colts. They're 31st out of 32 teams in offensive efficiency, and that's just not going to cut it.
All right, Brandon, but we're going to watch all the games. That's what we do. That's we're going to sit here and we're going to watch all these games. People are wondering, hey, did you watch the Astros game on Thursday? No, I was shooting the Texans game. But you're right. I am excited about the youth movement. I think that's going to be fun. So, Brandon, I appreciate you joining me.
Thanks for having me, Daniel. Always a pleasure, man.